Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream. I hope everybody's having a good evening so far. We have a very detailed live stream coming up for you. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, including the big winter storm that is set to take place from Texas all the way back through the Midwest and the Northeast over the next several days. We'll also be talking about the big threat for severe weather tomorrow. I have not talked about it much since we've been so focused on this winter storm, but there is a significant potential for a few tornadoes, and a couple of those very well could be strong, and it's becoming more concerning than it was like 24 hours ago. So I'll have a full breakdown on that in this live stream. But before we get too far into it, make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you're new here, and click the bell icon so you get notified whenever we go live. All right, let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today, which I've already kind of gone over this in the forecast that we had today, but overall there's not a whole lot in the United States to be seen besides the one little low pressure system that is now starting to strengthen over the southern plains. And over the next 24 hours, this thing is going to really explode, and it'll eventually impact areas in the southern and central plains all the way back through the Ohio Valley and eventually into the Northeast, where it'll bring some snow along with the potential for some significant severe weather down in this area here. So Southeast Texas all the way back through the Florida panhandle. So this will be an area to watch for very closely for severe weather. A couple of strong tornadoes will definitely be possible tomorrow, but the bigger concern is both severe weather and the snow potential heading into tomorrow. There are a lot of watches and warnings ongoing across the United States right now, including winter storm warnings from New Mexico all the way back through Illinois, and there's also winter storm watches in effect all the way back through Ohio and southeast Michigan. On the other hand, we do have winter weather advisories in effect for those in northern Texas, northern Oklahoma, and as well as back through Missouri. Back over into Texas, we do have winter weather advisories as well that do extend into some areas near DFW. A bit of a closer look at that here is really indicating right now it's not including Dallas and Fort Worth, but just off to the north and west, you are included in a winter weather advisory. On the other hand, again, winter storm warnings in effect in these pink boxes. That is representing your best potential for some significant snowfall as we head into tomorrow, with that low pressure system set to rapidly strengthen. So over the next 24 to 48 hours, look down to the bottom of your screen. That is where that low pressure system will absolutely explode in intensity over the next 24 hours. As we go into late Tuesday into Wednesday, this thing continues to move off to the north and east, impacting areas back through the Midwest and Ohio Valley, and eventually going into Thursday, this low pressure system will just race off to the north and east, and it'll eventually be impacting New England as early as Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So it's going to be a really quick moving low pressure system that will mean that there's not going to be nearly as much snowfall as what there could be. I mean, we could be very well talking upwards of 1 to 2 feet of snow if this was a much slower low pressure system, but it is going to race off to the northeast fairly quickly. Now, a big thing for snowfall tomorrow is going to be these surface temperatures. This is a very, very key really ingredient to having accumulative snow on grassy surfaces or elevated surfaces down in the southern plains. So going into tomorrow morning, temperatures are going to start out in the low 40s, even through Oklahoma. There's going to be a large chunk here that's going to be above freezing. What this essentially means is that roadway accumulation will not occur, it looks like, during the morning hours tomorrow. In addition to that, there will not be any sort of surface accumulation, most likely, unless the snow is just heavy enough, which is maybe possible back over near Childress and Wichita Falls in Texas. Eventually going closer to the lunchtime hour, temperatures are still really just hovering above freezing. So this is going to cause a bit of an issue for snow to accumulate, which is why some computer models have not picked this up, is that the temperatures are just so close to the freezing mark. A lot of computer models are actually overestimating how much snow is probably going to happen due to the fact the temperatures right now are forecasted to be between 33 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit across the southern plains. But once we go into the afternoon and evening, the temperatures will start to drop where that snow is going to be falling down closer to 32 degrees. So any of these very dark greens here, that's about 32 to 33 degrees all across, again, portions of Oklahoma and northwest Texas. And this doesn't mean, by the way, you won't see a cumulative snow if it's 33 or 34 degrees. It just means there really has to be heavier snow to be falling for that to actually occur, because it's just going to melt very quickly if it was just light snow, which we see that quite often with flurries with temperatures around 34, 35 degrees. Typically, those don't accumulate because the snow is just not heavy enough to accumulate on the grassy surfaces. So in terms of timing over the next 24 to 48 hours, this low pressure system again will strengthen overnight. This is a look at tomorrow morning. Heavy snow is going to be ongoing in western Oklahoma all the way back through the panhandle of Texas, and in the meanwhile there will be heavier rainfall, really just a cold rain across north and central Texas, and then the beginning of severe weather will start to ramp up during the morning hours tomorrow back down in southern Texas. I'll have a full breakdown on that here in just a little bit. Going closer to lunchtime, the transition into rain and or mix into rain and snow will really start to begin across Oklahoma City and Wichita Falls. That is going to be your mixture area. That's going to extend from northern Oklahoma all the way back down through northwestern North Texas. Light to moderate snow will be back still ongoing through areas in the panhandle of Texas, along with the Oklahoma panhandle where there might be a coating to a couple of inches. Going into tomorrow afternoon and evening, that is when this low pressure system will start to move off to the north and east. Severe weather will be ongoing again down in southeast Texas through Louisiana into Mississippi and Alabama. Meanwhile, there will be a bunch of snow still falling for those in northwestern North Texas all the way back through Arkansas and Missouri. Eventually going closer to the evening and overnight hours, that snow will start to move off to the north and east, where there could still be some heavy snow falling in areas like Arkansas, Missouri, anywhere in that Mississippi Valley stretch all the way back into the Midwest as we go into Wednesday. In terms of snowfall accumulation in the southern plains, there will be a decent amount of snowfall, but again, I want you to make sure that you're not going off of these numbers. They're probably going to be a couple of inches lower than what the computer models are showing due to the fact there has to be really heavy snow for this snow to accumulate, which I do expect. I think there will be some accumulation. It's just a matter of when, because the surface temperatures are likely going to just stay above freezing for most of the day tomorrow. But overall, I would at least expect a decent 3 to 6 inches of snow, or 2 to 6. I'll put in like the 2 to 6 range for those in this region here. So Childress, Lawton, as well as Wichita Falls, Oklahoma City as well. Anywhere just outside of that. So Amarillo even could maybe get upwards of 3 to 5 inches overnight tonight. Back into North Texas, we'll have a bit more of a detailed look there in just a second. Back over in eastern Oklahoma, there will be a widespread 1 to 3 inches, with some areas likely getting upwards of 4 to 6 inches of snow as well, in isolated spots overall. Back over in West Texas, those areas really not going to see a whole lot, especially if you're down in southwestern, really the hill country. Those areas won't really see much. If you're back near Midland, maybe about half an inch if you're lucky, but I would only expect at the most a coating there. North Texas, this will be a bit of a dividing line. Again, this is where that rain and snow line will basically be during the day tomorrow. So it's going to be pretty difficult for any accumulation to really happen in North Texas, but I do have an actual forecast for this. We actually have a forecast graphic that I'll have to change over here onto this. We actually have a graphic for this. So back over in northwestern North Texas, we're probably going to see 2 to 6 inches. That was my original forecast over on North Texas Weather Center. We have a 1 to 3 inch range as well for those in the blue shaded region. So areas like Gainesville, Graham as well, and Bowie are all included in that 1 to 3 inch stretch for some snow. 0 to 2 inches, and I say 0 to 2. I know that seems like, wow, that's a really great prediction, right? I'm going to be right no matter what. Well, the main reason why I put it 0 to 2 is mainly because the surface temperature uncertainty. So there might not be any snow. I don't want to get people's hopes up and say there's definitely going to be a coating, which I was going to originally do a coating to 2 inches. However, again, I didn't want to get people's hopes up. So I'm just keeping it at 0 to 2 inches for those in Abilene, Denton, as well as McKinney, and just west of Fort Worth, and then anywhere in that white shaded region from Brownwood all the way back through Dallas and Fort Worth and into Sulphur Springs. Flurries for the most part. Isolated dusting or coating is not out of the question, but it should be a pretty low chance there. And also a little fun forecast I did. I'll have to move my face cam here, but a little fun forecast I ended up doing was a chilly weather warning. I don't know why I did this, but I did. That's for North Texas, though. Again, DFW, if you're curious. You can take a screenshot if you want. All right, let's go back over to the forecast graphics. Let's go a bit further off to the north and northeast, going into Arkansas. So this is where we could see very significant snowfall as well. This will actually be probably the area where we see the most significant accumulation, especially back up in northwestern Arkansas. Any of this purple area, as well as some of these reds, that's indicating upwards of 6 to 10 inches of snow. Now, again, I would say it might be a couple of inches less than this, but the thing is, the surface temperatures would likely be below 32 degrees. So it should be easier for snow to accumulate back up in northwestern Arkansas, which seems to be the jackpot for snow out of this entire event, at least going into tomorrow and Wednesday. Those areas very well could get upwards of 6 to 10 inches of snow, but back near Little Rock, you're probably not going to see much of anything. Maybe, if you're lucky, a couple of flurries, but I wouldn't expect any accumulation there. So going into Wednesday morning, that low pressure system races off to the north and east. It'll be snowing in southwest Ohio as early as actually late tomorrow night into the overnight hours. So there will already be some snow arriving there. There will be a bit more of a mixture back where that north, or the north side of the low pressure system over in the mid Mississippi Valley. Eventually going into closer to about 7 to 8 in the morning on Wednesday, snow will really pick up in Illinois, Indiana, back through Ohio and Pennsylvania. So that is definitely a concerning area overall for some heavier snowfall. And eventually getting closer to lunchtime or so, that is when that low pressure system continues to race off to the north and east with only a little bit of light or maybe a couple of pockets of moderate snow remaining there. Rain back out to the east for those over in the mid-Atlantic region as well as down into the southeast United States. Snowfall totals are going to be actually very interesting. We have a very stretched out path here of a likelihood of at least seeing 3 to 6 inches of snow that extends all the way from Oklahoma into Michigan. It's a pretty large area for at least 3 inches of snow, it looks like. On the other hand, though, there could be a potential for some of these areas, especially in southern Missouri and as well as even into northwest Arkansas. I wouldn't rule out a couple areas getting upwards of maybe 6 to 8 inches of snow with an isolated area maybe near 10 inches. A little bit further off to the north and east as well, there will be a little band here from about eastern Illinois all the way back through southeast Ohio, or excuse me, southeast Michigan, that will likely see somewhere in the realm of 4 to 8 inches of snow when this is all said and done. So again, a lot of snow is actually coming out of this, even though it is a very quick moving low pressure system. And this is a little bit of a closer glance at the overall snowfall accumulation that's at least being estimated by the HRR model. I would again kind of say that maybe minus 2 inches on this to maybe get your hopes up a little bit less, because mainly the surface temperatures are a big question mark with a lot of this, but I would at least expect a good 4 to 8 inches for those from about southern Missouri all the way back through southeast Ohio, and then back even over near Chicago. You might get a couple inches of snow. You know, the area hasn't really seen much snow this year, so you might get a little bit out of this system. Davenport maybe 1 to 3 inches as well. Galesburg is well going to be in that same realm. So again, the heaviest of the snowfall is likely to happen from southern Missouri all the way back through southeast Michigan at this point. Back over into Kentucky and Tennessee, there is not much to talk about here. We're really not going to be seeing any snow there in Kentucky or Tennessee. I've had a few people asking what's going to happen for me. You're probably not going to see much of anything. You might get lucky if you're in like Louisville or Paducah. You might see a few flurries, but no accumulation at this point is expected for your area. Travel impacts are a big talk, by the way. So going into tomorrow, there are moderate travel impacts anywhere in this red, or excuse me, the orange shaded region. There are a couple of little pockets of red. So one up here in northern sections of the Panhandle, and then also, or that's Amarillo, and then all the way back through areas in northern sections of Arkansas and back into southern sections of Missouri are currently in a major travel risk right now. So that basically means just avoid travel if you can, at least going into tomorrow. And then for those up in northwest Arkansas and southern Missouri, Wednesday morning might be a bit tricky too. So I would definitely avoid the roadways at that point. Back over into areas in the Ohio Valley as well as in the Mississippi Valley. Again, this is the major travel impacts. It's going to be just to the southeast of Kansas City. Kansas City, interestingly enough, is actually in that moderate threat for some travel impact. So just take it slow on the roadways. And again, if you don't want to, you don't have to travel by any means. It's definitely probably safer if you don't. And then moderate travel impacts go all the way back through Ohio at this time and even into Michigan. And again, there's going to be definitely a concern for some heavy snow, which will reduce visibility overall over the next several days. Rainfall, by the way, is going to be pretty significant out of the system. We are talking a potential for upwards of 1 to 2 inches of rainfall across the southern plains and all the way back into the lower Mississippi Valley. This will stretch all the way back over into the Ohio Valley as well. Now, another big discussion is the severe weather potential. I know you might not be that concerned about it. It's a very small area. This actually might be very, very significant. The ingredients that are coming together for this event could even prompt a moderate risk. I would not put a high risk out of the question, but I would say at least a moderate risk does seem like it would be in the potential here back down in southeast Texas, because the ingredients are just going to be so favorable tomorrow morning and afternoon. This could cause the potential for a few tornadoes, and again, a couple of those could very well be strong. So currently enhanced risk of severe weather just south of Houston. Houston is in that slight risk of severe weather, and just outside of there, a marginal threat for those just to the north and northwest of Houston as of right now. Enhanced risk also goes into areas like Louisiana, as well as all the way back through the western Florida Panhandle. Again, the main concern for tomorrow, damaging winds, and also several tornadoes are not out of the question along the Gulf Coast, again, from Texas all the way back through Florida tomorrow. This is the tornado potential for now from the Storm Prediction Center. Hatched risk does mean that there's a potential for a couple of strong tornadoes. So southeast Texas is one of those areas, and another one will be back through Louisiana as well as into Alabama, southern Mississippi, and then back into Florida. So big concern there. Now, why is this such a concerning event? Why am I saying this is going to be a potential for, moderate risk? Well, there's a lot of ingredients that are coming together with this. One of them is not the instability, by the way. The instability is going to struggle. That is a big thing, by the way, for this event. If the instability was going further to the north and it was higher, then we could very well be talking about a large-scale severe weather outbreak. Luckily, we're not talking about that. But the low-level jet tomorrow is going to be super strong. We're talking the potential for a low-level jet upwards of 50 to 70 knots. That that is a very strong low-level jet overall. And the other concern is the low-level winds. Those are going to be very strong as well. We're talking the possibility for upwards of 60 to 75 knots for that low-level winds, as well as, again, the low-level jet. So very strong low-level winds are going to equivalent to the potential for a few tornadoes, and it won't be hard for them to develop either. The one thing that's saving us at this point, in terms of, several tornadoes and a big severe weather outbreak, is the instability. This is the instability for tomorrow. It barely gets into Texas. It's a very small sliver of Texas, which is the big reason why this area tomorrow is so small, is because of this. The instability is just so, like, in such a small scale environment here. A lot of it's down in the Gulf of Mexico, and even going through the afternoon and evening hours, it goes into areas like southeast Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama. But again, it is just such a small scale area that it's just not going to get to the potential that it could be with the, like a big, huge severe weather outbreak that extends into like Arkansas, for example, because all the ingredients are there. Just the problem is it's such a small scale area. Tornado parameter, by the way, is enormous near Houston tomorrow. 4 to 5 is a very high number. We're very well going to be probably seeing at least a few tornadoes down in southeast Texas tomorrow afternoon with the current setup that we have. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that this will likely be a linear setup, so that might limit the severe weather a little bit, but I would not say that that's going to limit it entirely by any means. Also, this is the updraft helicity. This gives us an idea of where we might see tornadoes and if they'll be strong. So again, it's a very small map. I can't really zoom in on this. It's kind of hard to see these lines, but all these lines are basically representing the potential for a tornado, or at least some sort of low-level rotation that could equivalent to a tornado. When you see some of these red and orange areas, that's indicating the potential for a few strong tornadoes. So we have a lot of those in southeast Texas, which is indicating a higher likelihood that we'll probably end up seeing the potential for some strong tornadic activity back down in southeast Texas and as well as into southern Louisiana. That threat goes all the way back through Florida, by the way, but again, I would expect the greatest threat right now to be down there in southeast Texas, primarily during the late morning and early afternoon. All right, let's go through the timing for those in southeast Texas, beginning with overnight tonight. Just some showers, maybe a couple of rumbles of thunder, nothing supportive of severe weather at that point. But by about 9-10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll begin to have a few showers and storms developing. Some of these will have a bit more of a northerly motion. That could very well lead to some of these cells rotating. We may see a tornado threat as early as 9 to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, so this might actually start pretty early. By about 1 to 2 o'clock, though, is when this thing really ramps up across southeast Texas. So just west of Houston, we got some pretty significant supercells developing then from Huntsville all the way back through Victoria. By 3 to 4 o'clock, storms are rolling through Houston, as well as Galveston, Lake Jackson, Beaumont. All those areas going to start seeing some showers and storms. A lot of these, again, will likely be severe. By 6 to 7 o'clock, these will all be out of Texas. So this is going to be mainly a daytime threat for those in southeast Texas, which is good news. At least it won't be really that much of a nocturnal threat down that direction. Louisiana will have some showers and maybe a couple of storms during the morning. Again, no severe weather expected then for Louisiana, but severe weather definitely likely for those in southern Louisiana as we go closer to the late afternoon and evening hours. So Alexandria, Lafayette, those areas going to start to see some of these showers and storms. And again, the tornado threat will be really the highest down in southern Louisiana, and we very well could see a few tornadoes there. Eventually going closer to 10 to 11 o'clock, line of storms moves off to the east towards New Orleans, and eventually going towards West Gulfport around midnight tomorrow. And then going to the overnight hours is when that line of storms will move through areas like southern Mississippi and Alabama. So unfortunately, this is likely going to be an overnight threat for severe weather. Mobile, Alabama, by the way, around 2 a.m. it looks to be your general estimated time for showers and storms, which you're in that enhanced risk of severe weather, so be mindful. Have a way to receive alerts tomorrow night. Eventually going into the early morning hours tomorrow, a couple of storms probably still being severe down in southeast Alabama, as well as even into the western sections of Florida. That eventually moves out to the east, and then things will be clearing out there for the rest of the remainder of the day Wednesday. By the way, a big talk is going to be, or really not today, but a bigger talk going into later this week will be a potential Arctic blast. We'll have more details on this soon, but there's a likelihood that we'll have an Arctic blast, at least in the northern half of the country, where temperatures could very well fall quickly. Might even be worse than the Arctic blast that we had in December. So this will be something to watch for closely. Details are a bit scarce right now, and a lot of uncertainty still remains there, but we'll have an update for you once we get a little bit closer to that. All right, that's all the slides. That was about 20 minutes on all the slides, which is actually a record. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome on in. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'll be live here for probably about an hour, so if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good evening so far. Been a busy week. Oh man, there's been so many weather events. It's actually unbelievable. Like the amount of weather events that we've had is really remarkable. I mean, we've had so many. This is not the only one. I mean, we've had this. We had another one a few weeks ago. I mean, it's just been so busy. And forecasting this event, by the way, I do North Texas Weather Center. It's been nonstop making graphics and all that sort of stuff. It's been super, super busy, to say the least. Hey, JK, how you doing? Any chance we get snow in northwest Tennessee? Unfortunately, I have to break the bad news to you. You're probably not going to see any snow. This is the graphic. Yeah, this is basically the forecast for you. So, unfortunately, not much. If you might get lucky with a few flurries, but I would not get your hopes up by much. I mean, this is the current forecasted accumulation, and we can even go over to the actual future radar there, and it's going to primarily just be a cold rain for you. So this is the current forecast. Rain late tomorrow night into the morning hours, and then you might get lucky. If this low pressure system goes maybe 20 more miles to the east, you could get some flurries, but it's probably not going to happen, unfortunately, for you. Tell me it's going to warm up in Michigan, even though it's not the truth. I wish I could. Wish I could. West Texas. Yeah, I can show you that. I have so many tabs open, so this might take a second. Here's West Texas. I'm guessing you're asking about Amarillo or Lubbock, but this is down here. Again, not really much snow for those in the hill country in West Texas, so Post, you might get a few inches, but Midland, not really going to see much. Amarillo and Lubbock, you're going to be in the 3 to 5 inch range most likely. Lubbock might be closer to 2 to 4, but at this point, it looks to be somewhere in that realm of being between about 2 to 4, maybe 2 to 5 inches of snow. Right. Trying to get everything under cover. Yeah, that's actually a good idea, by the way. Make sure you take the proper precautions tonight. There's going to be a lot of snow, obviously. So if you're anywhere in Texas, even in North Texas, I would recommend, even though you're probably not going to see a whole lot of accumulation in most of North Texas, I would at least be prepared as if there were to be snow accumulation. Because this is the current forecast from me. This is actually my own forecast that I made for North Texas. So if you're in North Texas, a little bit of a general idea here. So again, 2 to 6 inches further off to the north and west, 1 to 3 for those in northwestern North Texas, back through the DFW area and near the Metroplex, Abilene. Gonna be in a coating to 2 inches most likely. I said 0, but basically at this point I would expect at least around a coating to 2 inches in those areas, and flurries and maybe an isolated dusting for those back just to the south of Dallas and Fort Worth. So just a little heads up there. Again, make sure you take the proper precautions, cover your plants, bring them inside. It will be below freezing going into Wednesday morning as well. And if you're in North Texas as well and you want a little laugh, this is the chilly weather warning that we issued. I don't know why, but we did for those in North Texas. So again, DFW. All right, let's get back over to here. And we'll stay on this for here in a second. Viewing from the Netherlands. Can we see tornadoes? I mean, you could see tornadoes anywhere in the Houston area. The big concern is just all the ingredients are coming together right now for Houston. I mean, it's unbelievable. Everything's coming together, and it's quite remarkable. It's such a tiny area too, which makes it even crazier. For those down in Southeast Texas, there is a very, very small area there in that threat for a tornado potential, which that very well could lead to a couple of strong tornadoes. You see these little reds and pinks down there? That is indicating a significant tornado parameter, which basically means that we're possibly going to see a couple of strong tornadoes. So the big concern right now with Southeast Texas is the tornado threat. We're probably going to see a couple of strong tornadoes down that direction with the current ingredients set in place. Now, the current threat level from the Storm Prediction Center is an enhanced risk of severe weather. It's a very small area, so it makes it a little bit harder to really increase the risks there, but I wouldn't rule out a moderate threat of severe weather there just due to all these ingredients coming together, and this threat level may go a bit further off to the north as well. Houston actually could get included into maybe that enhanced risk of severe weather going into the next update from the Storm Prediction Center. So it's definitely pretty concerning what we're seeing with all the ingredients just coming together here. And again, this is a low-level jet. I mean, we're talking a very strong low-level jet, upwards of 60 to 70 knots. That's just, it's really, I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's definitely rare for this time of the year for something like this to actually happen. Luckily, the severe weather will not be this far up to the north, but down near Houston, for example, low-level jet near 70, that's going to cause the potential for really rapidly intensifying cells, quick rotation. Those cells are going to really be able to blow up pretty quick and really produce a tornado threat within, minutes. I mean, it's concerning to say the least, because it is a very, very dangerous setup that we have. Luckily, it's not over a large scale area, but regardless, it is definitely something to be watching for tomorrow. Victoria, Texas is also included in that threat. Yeah, you're definitely included. Let's go back over to Victoria real quick. Here's the timing again. So Victoria, down that direction, you could see a couple of severe storms down there as well. Again, I would expect the greatest threat for severe weather is probably going to be in this area here during the afternoon hours for those in Texas. So if you're in Beaumont, Huntsville, Woodlands, Houston, Galveston, Lake Jackson, those are the main areas where we're probably going to see some severe weather really explode. Some of these storms, again, could be producing that threat for damaging winds, but a bigger concern is the threat for a couple of tornadoes, which, again, those could very well be strong with the environment that we have. Now, if any of these are out in front of that initial line here and are a bit stronger, you can see down here, for example, there's a couple of them that kind of appear on the future radar. Those could very well produce that potential for tornadoes as well. So it's going to be messy down there for sure. With the current setup, I mean, it's not a clear cut, a couple of discrete supercells and call it a day. It's more of a linear sort of setup that we have here in Southeast Texas, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for a, massive tornado threat, but it's definitely concerning to say the least. And this will continue to track out to the east towards Beaumont and Lake Charles and pose a threat there as well. So definitely some concerning features here with the current setup that we have down in the southeast for sure. And yeah, again, this is not just a one little area threat. Also, the maximum updraft helicity, this gives us an idea of where we might see some strong tornadoes, just for simplistic terms. Any of these red lines that you see, that kind of indicates the potential for a few of those strong tornadoes, or at least, stronger rotation, which will lead likely to a few tornadoes there. And those are really, really dominant there in Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana. So these are the areas that are a bigger concern in terms of a tornado threat for tomorrow for sure. And it's definitely not something that you want to be messing around with too much tomorrow. Make sure you have a way to receive alerts. I know I haven't really talked about it much, but obviously it's been an upcoming threat that's only developed over the last 24 to 36 hours. It wasn't as much of a threat a few days ago, even though the ingredients looked like they would come together. It didn't seem like we'd have a whole lot of severe weather out of this, but it's completely changed because now this low pressure system is slightly further off to the north, which is allowing for Houston to see the potential for, a tornado threat now. And obviously the ingredients are coming together down there as well. So it's definitely gonna be pretty dangerous down there for sure. Hey, Panda, how you doing? Welcome back. Hey, thanks, White. Appreciate it. Wisconsin border. Are you talking about, like, snow? Let me figure out where I have a graphic there. This is this is the closer look at it. I mean, I'm not going to go any further north than this because it won't be much, but anywhere along that Wisconsin and Illinois border, if you're down in that direction, you might get upwards of maybe a coating to a couple inches. It won't be anything that significant, though, at this point. At least I wouldn't expect it. It should be pretty minimal stuff there. I got strawberry lemonade for a flavor today. It is so good. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Hope it snows in Worcester. We're talking about back up in New England. I think they're actually supposed to get some snow. I don't know if I can go that. Let me see if I can go out that far. I'm pretty sure I can. Let me try the 8 a.m. model. This is the future radar. Well, actually, it's indicating, at least on the 8 a.m., which I haven't really looked into this, but it does actually indicate upwards of at least 3 to 6 inches in southern New England. So it looks like you'll at least get some sort of snow. Worcester, Mass. I used to live in New England, so I'm aware of it. And, a lot of people are like, you always mispronounce names, but I actually know how to pronounce that name. Let's be real. I at least know how to pronounce one. We were on Wisconsin, right? Also, this is a general idea, by the way, of snowfall. This is the track it's going to take over the next 72 hours, by the way. This is actually, or 84 hours, so basically 3.5 days. That's pretty incredible. This entire system here, what it's going to produce in terms of snowfall is quite remarkable. That is the large-scale area of this winter storm that we're going to see from Texas and New Mexico all the way back through areas in Maine, as well as into New England and even into South and Southeast Canada. Pretty incredible system here that we're going to be watching kind of develop and unravel for sure. I mean, even down here, again, we're going to see some pretty significant snowfall out of this. For those, especially down in the mid-Mississippi Valley into the Ohio Valley, there will be a pocket here. That little pink stretch that you see, that's probably going to be your best chance there for at least some more significant snowfall. So definitely be something to watch for there for sure. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to leave those in the chat. And if you're new here, by the way, make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe. Click the bell icon for notifications as well, so you never miss a live stream or video forecast. And also, by the way, I appreciate all the support in the last few video forecasts. They've been absolutely going wild. They've hit new records. The video from yesterday, by the way, hit a astronomical record that I never thought would be ever hit. We had 55,000 views on that video yesterday. That's wild. Highest viewed video before that was like 30,000. So appreciate the support. I really do. Pretty wild. No problem, family. Northern Indiana. Yeah, we actually have a bit more of a zoomed up look at Indiana. This is the, I'm trying to find it. Actually, we don't anymore. We have to remake it. Let's do that real quick. So yeah, for Indiana, Northern Indiana has that 3 to 6 inch range, it looks like, at least going into Wednesday. So you won't really see it until Wednesday morning. That's when it's going to really start to begin. So this is around 5 a.m. You'll probably at least wake up to a coating, maybe an inch, but it will really ramp up during the afternoon and evening. So upwards of at least 3 to 6 inches looks at least likely for those in central and northern Indiana, back through southern sections as well of Illinois. So pretty active there for sure. You ever get alerts when I go live? I have no clue why you don't. It's for some reason, some people don't get notifications. Some people do. It's a weird thing. Hey, stay safe, Ronald. Stay safe. Hey, Tamara, how you doing? Welcome back. Go over Southeast Michigan snow totals. Actually, yeah, I can. I have not gone over Michigan yet. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So, Southeast Michigan is where we'll see the most significant snowfall. Current computer model estimates, I can't really get the furthest south here, but yeah, it's basically the border here. But right around the 3 to 6 inch range is going to be the realistic area anywhere in this region here. So 3 to 6. 2 to 4, probably actually a bit more in this region here, and then back up to the north, 1 to 3. So anywhere near Detroit has a better chance at this current time of seeing upwards of 3 to 6 inches. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that this could maybe shift a bit further to the north and a little bit further to the south. The things may change a little bit over the next 24 hours. Again, we've seen some changes, very minor changes. I think we can do a little model run here. I'm going to see if I can. Let me try to do it on my other monitor real quick. Kind of curious to see if I can... I'll just keep it on this screen here for a second. I wonder if I can make it so I can see the snowfall totals and the way they've changed over the last few days. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try to do that because that would be kind of cool. Model trend GIF. I don't know if I can. Kind of hoping I could. Might not be enough to select from. Well, this is one way I can do it. Yeah, originally, yeah, there's a couple of differences. Unfortunately, I can't do this fairly easily. All right, let me pull this back up. Let's do it this way. So we'll just put this back onto forecast loop, and then all right, so we're going to show you 2 little computer model runs real quick, because there's actually a little bit of a difference here. So let's do that. Michigan. We'll do Michigan on both of them real quick. So this is the model run from 6 hours ago, for example, from the HRR model. And actually, it doesn't show because we're not far enough. All right, let's try the NAM model real quick. There is a difference. I can tell you that. Do the NAM model. I apologize. There's going to be a lot of jumping here for a second. All right, so this is the NAM model originally. This is the most recent model run, so you can see areas like Detroit, Flint, Jackson, again, 3 to 6 inch range. And we go the most, about a day ago, this is the day ago run. And again, it shows a bit further to the south. So there's a couple of little differences there. It doesn't seem major, but there are differences for sure. Once we get about 24 hours out from this event, which we're getting closer to for Michigan, it'll probably be pretty much set in stone to see, the range of what you'll see. But there might be some small minor changes. But for those in Southeast Michigan, you're definitely going to at least see somewhere between 3 to 6, I would say. That was just really long and drawn out explanation, but yeah, there's definitely some minor differences there. And if you go like a week ago, by the way, or not even a week ago, like 3 days ago on some of these predictions and whatnot, it's kind of crazy to see the difference. I think we can try to do Southern Plains real quick. This is a model run from a few days ago for the Southern Plains. Let's do the 06. So this is a Sunday morning model run. This is what it indicated then for the Southern Plains. And again, I wouldn't expect this widespread 6 to 10 inches or whatever. It's just one model run. But if you go to the more recent one, it shows it a bit further off to the north. There actually have been some changes, by the way, to the latest forecast. And it's actually, this is a big thing. So let me kind of show you guys this. So this is a pretty big change recently. The HRR model is showing that the snow in the low pressure system center is actually going to be slightly further off to the north than about 6 hours ago. That's a pretty big change, by the way. So that basically, what I'm basically saying is that the snow will be slightly further off to the north than before. Severe weather as well will be slightly further off to the north than it already was about 6 hours ago. So there actually are some notable changes over the last 6 hours from the low pressure system right now strengthening, because this low pressure system is not far away. It has changed a little bit though in terms of its direction. This is where that low pressure system is currently sitting. It's down in southern sections of Arizona and New Mexico. It's going to continue to move off to the east, and impact areas back over in Texas. But it's definitely quite interesting because it actually is taking a slightly further north track than it was 6 hours ago, for example, on the computer model runs. So there are some differences there for sure in terms of that. And let me see if I can find that screen again. But yeah, again, this is the latest model run for example, for the HR model run for North Texas. And if you have 6 hours ago, there's some pretty I mean, it's not a major difference, but it is about a good 20, 30, 40 miles more north for the more significant snowfall. So there are some differences there for sure. All right, let's just put this on the screen for a second. I'm going to find a different one. All right, let's do that. All right. Sorry, that was a very long and drawn out explanation. I was trying to make it more easier, but any wind with the snow in Indiana? There will be some wind. It's not going to be, you know, a blizzard sort of deal. Obviously, we've seen a blizzard literally last month. This will not be as significant. These are the wind gusts going into the Wednesday morning, which is when you'll see snow. Overall, the 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts will create the potential for a little bit of blowing snow, but it's not going to be like an all-day event where you're going to see a blizzard-like conditions or drifting or stuff like that. It'll be very minimal, so I wouldn't expect blizzard-like conditions out there, but their wind gusts will definitely be up there, upwards of 20 to 30. Backside of that low pressure system in southern Ohio and West Virginia, probably going to get upwards of 30 to 40 miles per hour. Some pockets maybe closer to 50. So yeah, there will definitely be some wind gusts there for sure, but it shouldn't be the worst that you've ever seen. Obviously, what we saw last month for a blizzard, which was much worse than this. Sure. Do you think some places over in southern Illinois can overperform on snow from what's being shown on the computer models right now? Is that what we're talking about? Let's go to the computer model runs again. But this is southern Illinois. This is the most recent model run. I mean, at this point, I don't know where you are in southern Illinois, but this is basically what we're going to probably see in terms of the snowfall for southern Illinois. A very minor shift to the south or north is possible, but it will not be a drastic shift. So overall, it's going to probably be 3 to 6 inches in this range. I almost guarantee it'll be probably somewhere in that realm in comparison to, like, you know, 0 to 2 inches or 0 to 1 inch or whatever. So it'll probably at least be somewhere in that realm of 3 to 6 inches with a couple of isolated locations, maybe closer to 8 inches of snow. But yeah, I wouldn't expect that drastic of a difference to the south here with this system. That's what you're asking. Because like Paducah, for example, nothing, nada. Nothing's in that area right now, but a little bit further off to the north, it's a bit more of a different story. Go from Paducah to Carbondale, it's going to be a massive difference, it looks like, going into Wednesday, which is quite wild. Memphis, Tennessee is not going to see snow. Might see a few flurries, but you won't see any accumulation, for sure. Hey, Katie, how you doing? Watertown, New York. We haven't really gotten that far. We've actually been really focused on the southern plains of the Ohio Valley. This is the current estimates, at least back up there, so there'll at least be a few inches. We'll try the NAM model and go a little bit further out here. Yeah, this is basically the estimate. So, I mean, I'm not going to put any numbers on this really, but realistically, at least 6 inches it looks like for those in Watertown, but I haven't really gone that far into my forecast yet. At this point, I'll have more of a bit more of a deep down dive into that probably tomorrow, because we're just kind of a little bit early on the New York area right now. Because again, we've only been doing forecasts from yesterday. It was from Texas all the way back through about the Ohio Valley. I didn't really cover a whole lot of the Ohio Valley. Today, we've kind of shifted more now from the Texas area all the way back through the Ohio Valley in the Midwest. And then tomorrow will be like the Ohio Valley into Texas, or excuse me, the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. So we're kind of doing it, you know, part by part, because again, we're a few days out from this. So, but again, this is just general estimates overall. But I wouldn't put any of these numbers set in stone yet. We're a little bit early. I like the NAM model with these sort of events too. The NAM model doesn't go that far out yet, but usually gives you a good representation of at least precipitation and temperatures, which are a pretty big, crucial part of the entire thing as well. Yeah, the most recent computer model runs, again, shifting the snowfall much further to the north in North Texas. This was yesterday's model run, for example. I mean, it's not a major difference, but that's a good 50 miles or so further to the south. There's some pretty big differences there. And again, this low pressure system likely going to track a bit further off to the north, which is going to lead again to that severe weather potential down in southeast Texas. I almost guarantee you that there will likely be some sort of extension to this enhanced risk further to the north at this point because of the obviously all the ingredients coming together for tornadoes, and along with that we'll probably have that low pressure system going a little bit further off to the north than was originally forecasted really today. So definitely some key differences there for sure. By the way, if you're in North Texas and you want a quick little forecast, again, I made this for those in North Texas and as well as Southwest Oklahoma if you're there as well. But just a general estimate of what you'll see for snowfall. I'll keep it on the screen here for about 15 seconds, but it gives you an idea of what you can expect for snowfall in North Texas. And again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to hit the like button down below to get this out to more people. And also make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. You get notified whenever I go live and all that sort of stuff. Is this gonna be like a blizzard? No, this will not be like a blizzard. We've seen some pretty wild blizzards. We've seen some very wild blizzards. Obviously, the one back in December. This will not be a blizzard. There will be wind, there will be snow, but it's not gonna be what we saw last month by any means. I mean, if you want to say, no, I'm not even gonna say that. I mean, it's probably not gonna be a blizzard by any means. The wind will be strong enough back up in the Ohio Valley for maybe a little bit of blowing snow or drifting, but it should be very, very minimal. By the way, here are the estimates for snowfall tomorrow across Oklahoma. Again, take it with a grain of salt. You're probably going to be some sort of range. Obviously, if you've looked at your local forecast, for example, the Oklahoma Panhandle is basically in that range of being somewhere in the coating to 1 inch range, even though it has a couple of these little areas leaking upwards of 3 inches. And then back even over here, those areas were kind of that 1 to 3 inch range. So take it with a grain of salt, but you can at least get an idea. You'll probably at least see 3 to 6 inches seems to be pretty realistic across this region here, at least probably about 3 to 6, but couple areas closer to 2, couple areas maybe closer to 8, but just all depends on the surface temperatures. Again, the surface temperatures are a crucial part of tomorrow in terms of the entire spectrum of seeing snow and whatnot, because if we can find, this is the surface temperatures. The surface temperatures almost all day tomorrow are going to be above freezing across the entire southern plains, unless you're back over in West Texas. So accumulative snow is going to be much more difficult, even on grassy surfaces, but on roadways especially, there will not really be any accumulation tomorrow for those back into the southern plains on the roadways. Maybe during the late afternoon and evening is when we might see that, when the temperatures actually get to 32 degrees or slightly less than that. But yeah, temperatures are not really going to be getting there very easily. They're going to struggle to get down to 32 tomorrow, which is going to make it again hard for snowfall accumulation down here in the southern plains. Eventually going to the overnight though, back over in Arkansas, for example, that region there is going to likely see a few inches of snow. In that area is actually forecasted to get upwards of 5 to like 8 inches of snow. So those areas, though, will have an overnight threat, and the temperatures will be around 30 to 32 degrees. So that's definitely cold enough for some accumulation. Another concern, by the way, going into Wednesday morning, if you're back over in here, there may be a little bit of refreezing. So we might get a little bit of ice on the overpasses and bridges going into Wednesday morning. It should melt off fairly quickly during the the 9 o'clock hour, probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, when the sun actually comes up and whatnot. But there will definitely be a little bit of ice on the roadways there near Wichita Falls for sure. It'll be something to watch for, because I know a lot of you are probably wondering, will there be ice out of this? Well, probably not. For most people, there won't be any ice, but obviously with the melting overnight and refreezing, that's possible for sure down there over near western sections of Oklahoma, as well as into northwestern North Texas. You look over the February winter storm, the 1st to the 3rd. I am not going that far out. That is, you're asking to go out almost a week and a half for a winter storm that is not really relevant right now. And honestly, I know a lot of you guys probably watch some of these forecasts and they're talking about these really long-term events, or at least you might be looking at computer models and stuff like that. Never get into that. Actually, I'll show you guys actually real quick what I'm pretty sure you're referring to. This is something I looked at before the stream. I was actually going to mention this. This is something that the GFS model has been showing going into next week, which is actually completely wild, by the way. This is not going to probably happen, but this is what the GFS model is showing. We're going to see this big, like, ice storm down in the Florida Panhandle and all the way back through, like, the Mid-Atlantic region. It's not impossible, but I mean, this is 250 hours out. There's no science into forecasting something that far out. And even, look at this. Massive ice storm back down in southeast Texas going into the 6th of next month. That is like 2 weeks out. Again, these are things that are just not going to happen. But again, we've seen this on the GFS model. It goes absolutely wild during the winter. It goes wild. We can even go can go to another wild one. This is I think a bit of an older run. This is only about 18 hours ago. It doesn't even show any of that. There was one model run, I think it was this one, that showed a massive ice storm in Florida. Could be wrong. I don't know, what does anybody know what model run it was that the GFS model had? I know one of you weather geeks knows. I can't remember. I know it was a GFS on Sunday, I think. It's hilarious. Can't find it. Anybody know? It's pretty hilarious though. And again, these things aren't going to happen, but I'll try the 6Z model run and then I'll probably just stop doing it. Not seeing it. The GFS model after 200 hours out is just absolutely wild though. This is a winter storm, for example, on the 2nd of next month. This is ridiculous. It shows it up here. If you go to the more recent model run, it's like way down here. It's always varying. It's always changing. That's why I don't like the GFS model that much, but all right, I don't think anybody knows. But yeah, there was a model run that literally showed an ice storm in Florida, and it was on Twitter. I saw it. It was pretty funny. Yeah, the GFS model, I'll tell you right now, is just not something you really want to base your forecasts off of long term, because it's just never that accurate. And even really any computer model after 150 hours, they get very, very hairy, and a lot of uncertainty kind of gains into that over time. So yeah, I called for an ice storm in Florida. It's actually it's wild stuff. Honestly, after like 6 days, computer models get pretty unreliable, unless you're talking about temperatures, which are a bit more realistic to go off of, because temperatures are a bit of a different story. Temperatures are much easier to forecast because they're large scale. Then smaller scale stuff is like, you know, these low pressure systems. This is more of a small scale sort of weather event. These are much harder to forecast. There's a lot more variables in these. When we're talking about an Arctic blast, those are a lot easier to forecast, which is why I was talking about it 8 to 9 days before it happened, when we had that one in December, because I knew there was a lot more certainty. I had a lot more certainty about it too, because the computer models were just so consistent with it. If you look at the GFS model run showing a winter storm, it shows it up in Illinois one day and then down in Florida the next day. It's actually unbelievable how crazy it goes with the long-term forecast. But it is a 360-hour model, so it does get very hairy after a while. Yes, GFS model is good clickbait. That is I mean, a lot of people do it. Trust me. I don't ever use the GFS model for a forecast, really. The only thing I'll ever use it for is a short-term little graphic like this, what I was just doing here, to show you the winter storm here. That's about it. I mean, I won't show it for anything else because it's just not, to me, useful. Sometimes for Arctic blasts and stuff, it's also useful, like cold weather events or even, you know, heat waves. It's typically pretty good for that as well. But yeah, again, it's actually unbelievable. I mean, again, it could happen, but the inconsistency from the model is bonkers. This is the Arctic blast, by the way, that we might see next week. I did tease this at the beginning of the live stream. We may actually get an Arctic blast going into next weekend. It looks pretty likely at this point that it'll happen in the northern plains. How far south this gets is a big question mark. It's basically all question marks up and down here from about Ohio through Texas, but there's a possibility at least for an Arctic blast right now. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Actually, the GFS model shows it going all the way down into the Texas area, which, again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm curious to see what the temperatures actually show on this. I wouldn't expect anything too crazy here. Yeah, it shows temperatures down into the 20s and 30s and whatnot, which I wouldn't rule it out. Again, the temperatures are a lot easier to predict than, you know, big weather pattern or big low pressure systems that are causing all sorts of precipitation. Those are definitely harder to predict, but temperatures are definitely on the easier scale of things. All right, anybody else have any other questions? Let me know in the chat. I'll be live for about another 15 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If you want to watch, by the way, the entire forecast, I just went over all the details. You can start from the very beginning of the stream. It has all the details for you there. Thanks, Brandy. I appreciate it. I will be, Chuck. I will be. Yeah, we've been covering this winter storm for the last few days on the YouTube videos. So those are also pretty detailed. By the way, how are you guys liking the new editing style? Kind of curious. That's I now have an editor, so I'm curious to see how you guys like that. At all the Arctic blasts I can handle in 1 year. Where are you at? Are you like in the northern plains or something? I'm guessing you probably experienced a good amount of them. Winter storm watch, by the way, was just issued for those in southeast Missouri and as well as parts of Illinois, kind of at the top of your screen here. They just got issued, so little heads up there. Very small area, but There's actually, you know, again, for those over in, you know, Western Tennessee, I would get your hopes up, but the watches are inching just a little bit closer to you, but I wouldn't expect much. Glad you guys like it. Yeah, I do. I like them too. You know, the only problem is the exporting of these videos takes like an hour, the rendering, I should say. So that's one of the most annoying parts of it, is the rendering. We're trying to fix that. It's just an internal issue. But yeah, I really love the new editing. It's really good. Hope the ice stays off the power lines. I wouldn't expect any ice out of this event, unless, again, overnight freezing is possible back over in, like, I just threw a pencil, back over in West Texas and maybe Western Oklahoma. There might be a little bit of ice, but I wouldn't expect anything that wild there in terms of ice. Even if we go to the ice forecast, actually, we can do that real quick. Let's pull up the ice. No, we're not going to look at the hour 384 temperatures. We're going to go over to the ice accumulation on the HRR model. We'll glance at this. I'm pretty sure it's not going to show anything anywhere, but actually it does. It shows a couple of little specks. So if we go a little bit closer, the Southern Plains is really the key area. So again, I wouldn't expect much of any ice, but you know, you can see here the HRR model does show maybe a thin glaze of ice at the worst case scenario, which we might see a little bit, but I wouldn't expect it to be, you know, it's very, very, very isolated if it does end up happening. But I don't expect really any ice other than, again, from overnight freezing. Again, this is kind of the future radar here. You can see how the model actually shows. If we go into a sounding, I'm not sure if this will pop up on the screen or not. It's kind of a little bit off the screen. Let's just do this for now. If you look here, this is the sounding, and you can see this temperature inversion here. That is actually what it's showing. So we actually might see a little bit of freezing rain back over in West Texas, with how sharp that, you know, the temperature inversion is there. That's indicating basically what we're going to see in that part of the atmosphere about, you know, a few thousand feet up, is that little, you know, warm sector of air. That's basically going to mean it's going to go from snow back to rain and then turn into freezing rain once it hits the surface. So actually, I wouldn't rule out a little bit of freezing rain, but I would say it's going to be more of a sleet than anything. Sure. You never know. That's back over in West Texas. A couple little pockets of that. Just kind of depends on the upper level, or not upper level, like mid to lower level temperatures a little bit further up off the surface. But I'd expect most of this just to be snow and rain. A little bit of sleet maybe, but it shouldn't really accumulate too much. Pretty minimal overall. Look at this spiral. This is actually kind of crazy when you look at this. Pretty crazy spiral here. This is your snow here on the back end of it. And then, again, severe weather down this direction. Texas will be dealing with both tornadoes and snow, and it's not that far off from each other either. It's pretty wild. It'll be an interesting day to say the least tomorrow. Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate it. This is not mostly Texas and Oklahoma. We've been covering the entire United States. I wish it would snow in the east. I have had a lot of people saying, when am I going to see snow? We go back over to the mid-Atlantic. Just going to the HR model real quick. I'm not sure if there's any actual chances of any snow anytime soon, other than this one, which is not going to really impact the mid-Atlantic. No, not much. There's really nothing. It's kind of one of those things that, you know, I would be honest with you, the mid-Atlantic, you know, you got the warmer air coming up whenever there's a low pressure system. When we have these, like, you know, La Nina patterns, we get these low pressure systems that kind of go more up this direction in comparison to sometimes being a bit further down here to the south. There's a pretty big difference there. And when you have them going more like up this direction, it's much harder for snow to fall back down here in like North Carolina or Virginia. But when a low pressure system goes like way down here, it's much easier for those areas like Virginia or North Carolina to get some snow on the back end of it. So we're not seeing that though right now, which is, you know, obviously we're in the La Nina pattern. We're overall going to see a more mild winter with below average rainfall and whatnot. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things, you know. Just hasn't been any luck for you guys, for those in the East Coast, unfortunately. I know a lot of people have been asking, you know, when am I going to see snow? I can't give you an answer because there's just nothing in sight that actually gives you any sort of hope for snow over there, unfortunately. Snow NATO time. We actually, I don't think we'll see a snow NATO out of this event, but snow NATOs are pretty cool. They don't do any damage, but there have been snow NATOs before. We had a few of them with the big blizzard that happened back in 21, I think. Yeah, 21, the 21 blizzard for North Texas. That was absolutely wild. There was a few snow NATOs that day. I never even heard of a snow NATO until that happened. I'm not gonna lie. That was a couple years ago, but I used to only cover North Texas weather. I never did anything further north, so kind of one of those things. How is Hawaii? Is Hawaii gonna get snow? I have no clue. I don't do Hawaii. I do the lower 48. I know I technically do like the entire United States, but I usually do not cover those areas. Kind of what I do. Central Texas will not see tornadoes. Hey, Miss K, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Glad you got a laugh. Hopefully that coffee didn't get over any clothes. Hopefully it didn't. You're doing well. You're bringing it through Indiana and Ohio, but the computer models aren't showing it. I don't know what computer models you're actually using, but there's definitely gonna be some snow up there. This is one of the computer model runs. This is the future radar. I'll just show you this. So it's primarily gonna be late Tuesday is when that snow will begin for those back near Arkansas and Missouri. And then this will eventually move off to the north and east. So back over through the Ohio Valley is where we'll start to see some heavier snow. It's gonna be primarily overnight to tomorrow morning. And then eventually this will move off to the north and east. But yeah, this is definitely an event to watch. I mean, it won't be, you know, a blizzard by any means like what we saw in December, but again, a few inches of snow will come out of it, 3 to 6 inches for the heaviest areas. Just depends on where you are. You might see some light snow if you're back up in Iowa or central northern Illinois, Missouri as well. Heavier snowfall will be closer to that low pressure system that will be pretty strong. So this will be your heavier snow bands here going into Wednesday morning, pretty close to when you'll probably be waking up then. And then eventually that moves off to the north and east. Light snow remaining for Illinois. So that's the big difference. That's a big gradient in between the different, you know, snowfall totals. If we go over to the snowfall accumulation, for example, it's not a huge gradient where we're going to see 0 to 10 inches, but it's definitely something notable here. Now you can see like 1 to 3 inches in this area, and then a bit further to the south, it's more like 3 to 6 inches, with a few areas maybe getting closer to 8 to 10 inches. So all depends on where you are. Again, some areas will only be seeing light snow closer to that low pressure system. Much heavier snow is expected there for sure. Have they started naming winter storms? No, I do not name winter storms either. I never have. I won't say I never will, but I just don't. Naming winter storms is a little bit weird. Like naming, I don't know. It's like almost like naming a low pressure system. Literally what it is. I mean, that's about what it is with a hurricane, but a hurricane I feel like is a completely different thing. Winter storms and naming them just seems kind of weird. Hey, no problem, on. Are you tuning in? All right. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the chat. I'll answer a few more here. Actually, somebody was asking me about St. Louis. St. Louis will probably be in about the 2 to 4 inch range. If you're anywhere in St. Louis area, 2 to 4 inches is likely there. Thank you, Michael, for the 199. What model is that? It looks different from the video? What do you mean by the video? Not sure what you mean. Are you talking about the video from today on my channel? This is the HRR model, but I'm pretty sure I used this on today's video, did I not? Could be wrong, but I thought I did. I have to double check. Sounds good, Jonathan. I'm glad you're tuning in, Karen. Appreciate you tuning in. There might be a few power outages, but I wouldn't anticipate them to be significant. They would be very isolated. It's not like a blizzard. We're not, I mean, the one big thing for power outages will actually probably be the southern, like the Gulf Coast, because that's where we'll see severe weather. This would be a power outage area for sure. The snow, though, I wouldn't anticipate a whole lot of power outages. It would be very, very isolated in nature for sure. Hey, Tim, Dallas will not see any snow accumulation. If you're a little bit further off to the north and east, this is my latest forecast. I'll pull it up for a second. This is for North Texas, and I literally made this forecast graphic like 3 hours ago. But these areas may shift slightly further off to the north on my next forecast. Things have changed slightly, so they may shift a little bit more to the north. But I will post an update on this on North Texas Weather Center on Facebook. Will I see an ice storm on February 10th? I wish I could tell the future that far out. I cannot. February 10th. It's like 3 weeks from now, isn't it? Then your Valentine's Day. Should be at least one nor'easter a year. There might be one this year. There might be one. Never know. February is the month where I feel like a lot more significant weather happens in terms of winter weather. Even though we're obviously been seeing some for the last month and a half, it's obviously not been, every single, few days. This has been every week or two that we've been seeing these winter storms and whatnot. But I think a lot of things will start to ramp up here pretty soon for sure. I think it really starts to ramp up as we head into really early to mid-February. I think things really start to ramp up. More snowstorms, colder air, obviously some Arctic blasts here and there, maybe 1 or 2 more for this year. Maybe 3, but I would say probably 1 to 2. We're probably going to have an Arctic blast this upcoming weekend, by the way, so I'll have a forecast on that probably on Wednesday, so stay tuned. Have a good night, Best BO. Appreciate you tuning in. Samurai, you will not see snow. Unfortunately, I apologize. You might be lucky to see a snowflake if you're like 1,000 feet off the ground. Hey, no problem, Lindes. Appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. We're not in the middle of the winter yet, are we? We're pretty much in the middle of it. The beginning is technically December 21st. If you go from the meteorological winter standpoint, we are slightly past the halfway point of winter. The end of meteorological winter, I can't talk, but you know what I'm saying, is February 28th. And then the end of, obviously, the regular winter is March 20th. Astronomical winter, which is what everybody goes by as astronomical, but meteorologists and whatnot typically go by the meteorological winter, or seasons, I should say. Seasons are the first, usually, of the, December 1st, March 1st, June 1st, all that sort of stuff. September 1st. All kind of varies, though. What about leap years? It is February 29th is when it would end on leap years. Or February 31st, right? No. February 31st. Yeah, pretty funny joke about February 31st. People always there's always been posts on Facebook and stuff. People are like, there's gonna be a winter storm on February 31st. That's actually what I gotta do this year. I'm gonna do that on Facebook this year. Funny. That's a lot of seasons. There are a lot of seasons. I do like the meteorological one, though, more for winter, actually, more than anything. I feel like winter starts more on December 1st, but that's just me. That's how the weather goes. Snowfall totals for Missouri. Yeah, actually, I'll do a little in-depth look at Missouri for you. I haven't really done any in-depth here, but this is the estimated from the HR model. Again, within a 2 to 3 inches of these numbers is probably realistic. So St. Louis probably going to be in the one. I said 2 to 4, so 2 to 4 I'm probably going to go with for St. Louis. You might get lucky and get 6. It depends on how far north this low pressure system goes. Look how sharp this divide is, though. I mean, it's a very sharp divide here in between snowfall totals, and that's the low pressure system's taking this track here. Heaviest of the snow will be right here, most likely. So it just kind of depends on where this low pressure system is. It's a bit further off to the north and west, St. Louis will get hammered. If it's a bit further down to the south and east, you'll probably only get a couple inches if you're lucky. So, but for right now, it does seem more likely than not St. Louis can be in that 2 to 4 inch range at this point. But otherwise, this area here will probably be in that 4 to 8 inch range, with maybe an isolated area near 10. Your favorite is bikini season. There you go. I'm not posting a fake photo of a high risk, actually. I'm not going to do that, mainly because it's winter still. We're going to post about a winter storm. For North Texas. Again, that's for my North Texas Weather Center audience. We'll be posting a winter storm there for February 31st. No, we won't be doing a high risk. I've seen a couple of people do high risk fake posts before, but I just don't like that. I feel like that's a real, I mean, like, obviously saying a winter storm is it can be kind of said as a scare tactic, but high risk is even worse, in my opinion. High risks don't really happen. That's the difference between that and a winter storm. So, snowfall totals for Tulsa 2 to 4 is where I was kind of estimating. 1 to 3, 2 to 4. This is the latest computer model run, which actually shows upwards of 3 to 4 inches, but I'm kind of still in that 2 to 4, 1 to 3 inch range. So overall, 1 to 3. What do you think the next outbreak will be after this one's done? Next outbreak, I mean, we have one tomorrow, but beyond that, we might get one a week or two from now. I feel like these have been kind of happen every week or two. So with the current pattern that we're having, we'll probably have one almost every week or so. So that's kind of what everything's been falling down to so far. And again, this is tomorrow's threat. It looks very small, but it could very well be pretty significant, especially near Houston, where we might see a couple of strong tornadoes. But on the other hand, we don't have anything really in the near future after that. There is a day 3 marginal threat. I know that. And that's over here in Florida, back through the Carolinas for a couple of severe storms, and not really much there. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot in the next 7 days. But tomorrow is going to be a pretty big event. It's not just the winter storm. It's also the severe weather threat that's going to come with it. So there's definitely some risks there for sure. That's definitely going to be a dangerous one. Am I streaming tomorrow? I've been asked that a couple of times. I don't know yet for sure. I have 3 classes tomorrow, and they all kind of run during the afternoon. So we'll see what happens. I will try to, but I'm not entirely sure. If anything, I'll at least try to do a Facebook brief live stream. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, the link's in the description, but about it for right now. By the way, I did not mention this, but in the description below, I officially have a P.O. box. So if you ever want to send me anything, it can be a card, it can be, I don't know, a piece of paper, I don't care. If you ever want to send me anything, though, there's actually a P.O. box now that I have. So if you ever want to check that out, it's in the description of every video and live stream from here on out. So that's probably the only time I'll say that, though, but it's down there if you ever want to send anything. Yeah, I don't think I'll be live on YouTube tomorrow, but we'll see. Maybe tomorrow morning. It kind of depends on what the classes... I mean, my classes are during the afternoon, so there is a possibility for a morning stream if we have any tornado warnings. But other than that, I will probably not be live in the afternoon. Evening is possible as well. So afternoon's blocked out. Evening and morning are both possible, though, for tomorrow. For me. I don't know if anybody else is going live, but that's for me right now. Yeah, Virginia, I'm probably going to go live. I don't know if I'll go live on YouTube or Facebook or what, but I'm probably going to cover that Houston event a little bit if I can. Because the timing right now, if we go over to the timing, let me see when it is exactly. So the timing, yeah, this is probably going to run during my schedule, unfortunately. Yeah, that's... Unless there's something in the morning, I might go live. Maybe around 10, 11 o'clock, but this gets kind of late here, unfortunately. This is right during classes, and this is going to be probably the peak of severe weather. For whatever reason, my classes are always at the worst times for these severe weather events. Virginia, you might remember back in early December, we had that tornado outbreak in North Texas. I had 2 final exams that day. I literally could not go live. It was the most unfortunate thing ever. All these tornadoes were happening. I literally couldn't go live because I was studying for it. It was horrible. These things always run into like the worst times, but... Yeah, there's a possibility, though, if there's any tornadoes in the morning, I might go live, but there's actually a chance, though, during the early, like the 10, 11 o'clock hours, it's possible. After that, I won't be able to go live until probably at least 7 o'clock. Just broadcast live from class. I know, right? Easy solutions. Is there any chance of a PDS tornado watch? I wouldn't rule it out in Southeast Texas, but... We'll see what the Storm Prediction Center does. We'll see. All the ingredients are coming together. It's not a classic setup because we don't have all the instability. And also, this is a bit more of a linear, messy system. This is a very messy area. Even though all these ingredients are coming together, it's going to be messy. And when I see these messy environments on computer model runs, it usually gives me a little bit less confidence in terms of, significant severe weather. There will be some. I'm almost guaranteeing there will be probably at least some level of significant severe weather. It's just a matter of how much there will be. That's going to be the big question mark for tomorrow for sure. You know, will we see a couple of tornadoes? Will we see one? Will we see four? It all depends on what really kind of sets up here. Since it's going to be a bit more of a linear setup, though, with a couple of discrete cells out in front of it, it's probably going to be slightly less significant than what it could be with the ingredients that we currently have. I wish, JK, I wish. Hey, Richard, how you doing? Welcome back. It works. Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, my schedule it's just whack. Unfortunately. By the way, little update. I don't know if the watches and warnings have changed. Let me just check. Yeah, they haven't. But this is the current watches and warnings in the Southern Plains. For winter storm warnings, the pink boxes, and then you also got the winter weather advisories just outside of that. These are winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories. Blue boxes are winter storm watches. So just a little heads up. None of this has changed in the last 30 minutes. We had a couple of small additions to winter storm watches back through Illinois and Ohio. Or Illinois, excuse me, and Missouri. I don't know why I said Ohio. Richard College. Typically, I was here last semester. You must have not watched any of my last semester stuff. It was the same setup. Snow for Western Maryland. I've not really looked that far to the east. I mentioned that earlier. I haven't really gone much further to the east than Ohio yet, since we're still a few days out, but I'll take a quick glance and see what's up there. I wouldn't expect it to be anything too crazy, but we'll look. Oops. Because I know Maryland, actually I heard that Maryland might get a little bit of snow, but this one doesn't seem like it's going to give you anything. Didn't you guys get snow yesterday, or the day before? I saw it on Facebook that there was snow over here, but I'm apparently not getting any anytime soon. This is a bit more of a wide view of this, so let's go to the future radar. You might actually, it doesn't really show it on the NAM model, but there might be a little bit of like light snow for like northern sections of Maryland, but accumulation probably won't be a whole lot there. Pretty sure there was snow yesterday, wasn't there? See you later, Maggie. Appreciate you tuning in. Over to this real quick. How's it going, Anthony? Welcome back. Hey, thanks, Gina. Oh, 10-hour shift is long. That's crazy. I cannot give you any sort of idea on an ice storm in a week and a half. There's no way we're forecasting a week and a half out right now. These again, the winter storms that pop up on computer models over 200 hours out change a lot. They really do. I mean, again, I'll do another one of these little explanations real quick. This is the GFS model on the most recent model run here, and this is an idea of what we're looking at long term. So this is about hour 210, 234. It shows a massive ice storm and whatnot all the way back through areas from Florida. I mean, it's wild, but it basically shows an ice storm in the southeast. And then if you go to like a model run, let's just say from 12 hours ago. Let's look at this. Is it going to show the same thing, or will it show something different? It doesn't even show anything remotely close to that. It shows absolutely nothing at the same time frame. So yeah, it doesn't show anything at all. I mean, that's why you really shouldn't ever look that far out on any computer model. And that's what that's basically is. This is a GFS model way, way far out. Alrighty, if your question was not answered in this live stream, make sure to go to the very beginning of this video. It has all the details for you for snow, forecasts, all that sort of stuff. We have a lot of forecast graphics in this as well, so you can check those out, especially for Oklahoma and Texas, so make sure to check that out. So go to the very beginning of this stream and make sure to check that stuff out if you have any other questions. But other than that, I am going to end the live stream there. I have a lot of stuff to do tonight, but I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure to hit the like button below if you have not already, and subscribe before you leave. Click the bell icon to be notified whenever I go live next, and obviously any new videos as well. What do you call a snowstorm on the back of a thunderstorm? I'm not sure what your question entirely entails, Michael. Snow. I mean, it's basically just a pretty powerful trough if you're trying to get at that, but a weird question. Talking about like thunder snow? I'm guessing you're talking about thunder snow, right? If not, then just comment on a video, because I've literally got to go. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great set for rest of your night, guys. We'll see you guys all again soon. And again, thank you, Michael, for the 398 in Super Chat tonight. And yeah, thank you guys all again for watching. Appreciate it. Have a great set for rest of your night. If you have any questions, again, go to the beginning of this live stream. First 20 minutes are a very detailed breakdown and forecast for you. And have a great night, guys. We'll see you guys all again soon.